group of siblings may do. From time to time, there may be a dust-up or a disagreement over something. And again, it wasn't anything major, I assure you. And in the interest of thinking like, hey, I could play peacemaker, he decided to kind of walk in on their discussion and offer an opinion. It didn't go well.
So our boy learned a lesson. Is that what you're telling me, Jay?
And then so like the disagreement thing like kind of got pushed to the side, and then it was like, dude, this ain't you. All right,
time for you to step in the other room.
Yeah, right. You need to, wherever you just came from. You just need to go back there.
Go back.
We know what we're doing, and we'll worry about you later.
Right.
Okay,
that's right.
And,
none of this chivalry crap. You just pop on in the other room now.
Yeah, and he just thought he was doing the right thing. Like,
right,
hey, I'll just try to be. I'm just going to offer up here maybe a solution. Some words of wisdom.
I'm part of the family. I'm going to be part of the family. I'm just here to help.
Didn't go well. So anyway, but everything's been good around here. I'm feeling good. Let me update everybody, Terry, just because I have a lot of people that have asked. For those of you who are our regular listeners, you know that back in the fall, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer. In the last couple of months, I've been going through chemotherapy. I'm doing pretty well with that. Literally tomorrow, will be my last chemotherapy treatment. I will not be on the air tomorrow. It is doubtful that I'll be with you guys on Wednesday. Should be back on Thursday. But doing all this at Duke up in Durham. Got a great medical team up there. I appreciate all of you on Twitter and Facebook that have reached out over the last few months just to check in. It is so humbly appreciated for me, my family. I promise you that. But I'm doing all right. I am doing all right. And once we're through chemo tomorrow, we have a few weeks to let all that kind of work its way through me. I'm not a doctor, Terry, so I'll just kind of echo what they tell me. And we'll have another set of testing done in about a month, and knock on wood, we're going to be where we're supposed to be, and that's everybody feels good about what I've been doing so far. But I've handled it as best I can. There are days when it's a little rougher than others, but anybody that's either been through it themselves or had family or friends that have been through it, you know what I'm talking about. But overall, from what my medical team tells me, I'm coming through this pretty well so far, and again, one more big round of it tomorrow, man. So hopefully we're almost there, Terry Ford. We're almost there.
Absolutely, man. We have a lot of folks who are thinking about you and pulling for you, and so
it means a lot. I promise you. And I'm dead serious. I am so. I like my house. We have a nice house. I have a great family, but I want to go back to work. It's nothing against anybody here, man. But I did. I was like the other day. I was like, all right, I was like, oh, can't go back yet.
Not yet.
Can't go back yet. Yeah, not yet.
Got the car started.
But hopefully, very soon.
Got the car started
very soon.
Mrs. Phillips walks out and they give me the keys. Not yet.
Yeah, I know, right?
Back in the house.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Back in the house, bub.
I know.
Oh, man.
But soon enough. I will. I'm dead serious. I will ask. I don't know. While I'm going through chemo, I'm not allowed to be around a lot of people. Can't go out. Obviously, immunocompromised and all those kind of things. Mm-hmm. But I will be curious to see if they will, inside the next month before my testing, allow me to come do a couple of shows. So I am going to ask tomorrow when I see my medical team up there.
I would love to have you back, man. So it'd be good. It'd be good to get you in here.
But really, it's not so much about being on the air or being in the studio. I just I want to play Avengers pinball again. I miss the pinball machine.
I'm going to tell you what, Dreamy Josh Yellman is killing that thing.
Okay.
He's got all the top scores, so obviously he's not selling.
Yeah. Well, hey,
he's playing pinball.
Whatever it takes, man.
So you got a lot of high scores to catch up on because Josh has been killing that thing, man.
I'll get there.
I'll
get there. I might just sneak in overnight and see what I can do.
Well, you got
and again, to not be coy for people, we do literally have an Avengers pinball machine in our offices.
Yes, we do.
A nice addition. Right before I had to leave, too, man. I was there for like a month, and then all this happened. So take that for what it is. But no, I'm doing all right, man, and I'm glad we're back on today. But let's get to it because we got so much to cover.
ton to get to, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to let you get us started.
I'll tell you what. I guess our first start is since we've been gone. Lots of the portal has opened, obviously, and South Carolina's gotten one get so far. It's an interesting get, Jay, and I'll let you start from there.
Yeah, Jaden Gibson is his name. He's a wide receiver from, I believe, the Orlando area. I think he's from Apopka. Carolina had recruited him a couple of years ago, went to Oklahoma, had some nice offers. I think Georgia, Florida State, Auburn maybe were on his list back in the day out of high school. But it's an interesting get, you're right, because while he was at Oklahoma, he only caught 15 passes. But the last time he played actively for the Sooners was, I guess, their bowl game at the end of the 23 season. So he did not play for Oklahoma in 24 or 25. And based on the information I read today, I think from Wes and the guys at Central, by October of this past season, Brent Venables had announced that young Mr. Gibson was no longer part of the Oklahoma football team. So don't know what that entails. But South Carolina, as I mentioned, had a previous relationship with him. Coach Stepp had actually recruited him while he was still here before moving on to Illinois. So he knew enough about Carolina to want to come be a part of it. So I suppose, Terry, with Dre Jacobs leaving in the portal, Carolina's got some nice pieces returning. But I guess Rowe is out as well.
Yep.
But Murph is back, and obviously Harbor is back. So a guy who's going to come in and compete, but I wouldn't say this is for the only commitment so far in the portal, I wouldn't say this is one that kind of lights people up when it comes to wow, what a great opportunity. Again, I think he was a 4-star high school prospect, but at Oklahoma, and I get it, at Oklahoma maybe at a time when the Sooner offense wasn't great. I don't even know if you would argue it was great last season. It was better with Mateer until he got hurt, but he didn't play last year, so it doesn't really matter in terms of what he was doing in a new Oklahoma system. So it's almost – he's got 2 years left, so for Jaden Gibson, it's almost a chance to kind of start over at an SEC school.
Now, first of all, it is interesting that he hasn't played in 2 years, but the little bit he did play in 2023, dude caught 14 balls for 375 yards. It's like 24, 25 yards a catch. He had 5 touchdown grabs on 14 catches. So what little he did obviously was a huge impact. He was a big play guy in that little small sample. 6'5", about 200 pounds. So that tells you he's really tall, and he's not the thickest cat in the world.
I like the jump ball aspect part of it. Yep. I was going to say that too. I do like the size part, and there was some production, just so limited. It's hard to tell what that's going to translate to, and especially in this Kendall Briles offense. Right.
I mean, and plus not playing for 2 years. So how long will it take to ramp him up into playing football again? What is he now compared to what he was 2 years ago? I mean, there's a lot of question, but like you said, he was a 4-star kid coming out of high school. When he did play a bit in 2023, made a ton of big plays in that limited, like I said, the limited bit that he did get on the field. And he's got some interesting size. And how does he fit into a Kendall Briles offense? We'll find out. But again, it's not one, and you nailed it, it's not one we're going to go, wow, what a great get, but it's one that might be a little under the radar that maybe pops at some point during the year, and we go, okay, now I get it. Now I understand why they picked him up. So we'll see.
Yep.
We'll see. One thing about this, Jay, it's the first one in. 15 have gone out, my friend. Right now, that's not a great ratio. Again, there's a long way to go in the portal. 10 of them on offense, most of them on the offensive line. You and I, when we were yipping earlier today, look, there's a long way to go in this thing. But losing that many offensive linemen, it's worth the conversation. It just really is. I know they struggled last year. I get it. Look, that offensive line has been inconsistent to not very good over Shane's tenure. But, I mean, losing pretty much almost everybody, Jay, and you brought up a great point. It's not just the starters, it's the depth too, man.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands now, they've only got 7 returning offensive linemen on the roster. And, yeah, you're right. About half of the total portal exits so far are offensive linemen. And in the cases of Kaysen Henry and Josiah Thompson, here are big-time starters. Tree Babalade and Travon Baugh, have played a lot at South Carolina. I think maybe the others, Boaz Stanley, Nick Sharp, maybe just didn't catch on as much. But I think those others, Terry, those are significant. How significant, I don't know. And as Shane said Friday, we gave up a lot of sacks last year. So I know we'll talk about it more on the other side, but it is worth more of a conversation.
Yep, we'll have more of a conversation on the offensive linemen who have left coming up next. It's a post-game show. Terry Ford, Jay Phillips, till 6 on the game. All right, we were yapping some offensive line before we had to roll off to break. Jay Phillips, Terry Ford, postgame show. And we'll play a cut here in a minute, Jay, from Shane talking about the mass exodus out of the offensive line room. And, it's one of those things, and look, each case is different, right? It could be something as simple as, you sit down with, and let's pick Josiah Thompson for a minute, because he's the guy that was the 5-star kid. He's been a 2-year starter, regressed last year, but again, there's physical ability there, right? That's why he was a 5-star coming out of high school. Could have been something as simple as they told Josiah Thompson, hey, look, be honest with you, man, nobody is set in stone as a starter. It's an open competition. May the best 5 win. So good luck. Could have been an NIL thing. Could have just been Josiah wants a new start. Could it be the new offensive line coach and the new OC don't think he could fit what they want to do offensively? It could be any of those things or a little bit of all of them. But, those are some of the questions because each one of these guys, some of them you really didn't want to lose. A couple, just in my opinion.
Well, and I think with Thompson especially, in-state kid, there's a lot there. Again, he started basically every game, I think, since he's been at Carolina.
Every game he's been healthy, yeah.
Yeah. And look, everything about offensive line play last season was poor.
Right.
You didn't hit on the portal the way you hoped to. And I'm not trying to pick on, let's say, Boaz Stanley as an example, but, he had such a stellar resume coming over from Troy where rarely committed a penalty, didn't give up a lot of things. Excuse me. And last year he committed some penalties and gave up some things.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody does. So, again, I'm not picking on him, but you weren't maybe you shouldn't have expected him to have no penalties, right, or anything like that. But again, Casey Henry, I know he's not a South Carolinian. I think he's from Atlanta, but he's started a lot. I think you missed those tackles, and I tell you, before we opine any further, I think you're right. Let's let people hear what Shane had to say, because this is a pretty long but very I think telling cut that does answer some of the questions. So I'll let you set the rest of it up.
Yeah, but Shane, just for about 2 minutes talking about the depletion of the offensive line room.
We needed to get better. Look, when it is what it is, when you go 4-8, and I think we gave up 44 sacks, if I'm not mistaken, it's hard to say that we played great up front. It is what it is. And that's not all on the offensive line. That's on me. That's on the coaches. That's on, you guys have heard me say it before, guys see a quarterback get sacked and they automatically want to blame the offensive line. I'm not saying that. A lot of our sacks were on the quarterback. A lot of our sacks were on the running backs. Some of our sacks were on tight ends and receivers. We all had a hand in it. But it's hard to say that everything was great when we didn't play well enough. We didn't, and we need to be better. So I knew there was going to be somewhat of a reset. I knew there was going to be a new offensive line coach coming in here that was going to be able to, really shape that room the way they needed to. And I wasn't, sitting in there saying we need to blow the whole thing up and bring in all these new offensive linemen. Like, we got to be able to practice too. And everybody in America wants offensive linemen. We're no different. And we just can't say everybody hit the road and we're going to remake the whole room. We've got some really good players in that room, some really talented players in that room that we need to continue to coach up even better than what we have. We've got guys in that room that were recruited by every school in America. And I'm excited about those guys and because of the players they are, the people they are. But certainly there's some guys that, have left the program that, there's a financial element. It just is what it is at every position. And there's money that, guys, not just offensive linemen, but all across the country, money that guys want. And there's money that schools have available to give them, and sometimes that doesn't necessarily match up, and guys do what they feel is best for them in their career, and don't want any of those guys leaving, miss those guys, and appreciate everything the ones that are in the portal have done for our program, but it's just kind of part of it right now. But again, it wasn't a new coach come in, let's just take a grenade to the room and just remake the whole thing. It wasn't that, but it's also, look, we need to get better. None of us were good enough. We were 4-8. The head coach wasn't good enough. None of us were good enough, but that room's one of them where we need to be better.
Now, and some of the things we just talked about, Shane brought them all up, and he spent a lot of time on the money piece, Jay, and
Yep.
we've heard that, Trevon Ball, that was the push for Ball to go is, Ball looked at a certain number, South Carolina looked at a certain number, the numbers didn't match, so Ball has moved on to find his number. And it could be with others as well. We don't know that part, but it's a bit of all of it. But what he said I thought was interesting. This didn't come from Coach Clem saying, okay, they all suck, get rid of them.
Right. And I would like to know if we had a pie chart, to look at those different, because I'm with you. I think it's a combination of an all of the above, but and maybe individually it's different percentages in terms of somebody wanted to get paid more. Somebody wasn't maybe up to what Randy Clement was looking for when it comes to his offensive line and what he and Kendall look for in the way they want to play. Again, sometimes you're right. Maybe just a fresh start here or there. So there's a lot of different questions to ask, but it is concerning because the 7 that you return, Shane says he's excited about. I mean, that's what a coach is going to say. And by the way, Shane spoke on Friday. For those of you who might have still been out of town, that came from a Friday afternoon press conference. Terry, to know that you've got to go supplement all of those departures through the portal in the next few weeks feels daunting to me.
Yeah.
And school starts here in a couple days, man. So, you may not get everything you want right away. I don't know what that's going to look like. I know they've got an offensive lineman or two coming onto campus, I think, in the next day or so. But I don't know. I'm just throwing this out here. This is me talking. Is there still a possibility of some of these young men maybe exploring what's out there? Remember, just because you enter the portal doesn't mean you must leave your school. Might they still be in contact with some of these guys? Well, hey, go see what's out there, and we still like you. Again, I don't know if that's the case. And then a couple of them might come back. Or just choose not to leave South Carolina. I don't know. But having to replace a half dozen offensive linemen in the portal at a time when you bring in a new coordinator and a new O-line coach, unless they got some leads, man. Maybe they got some kids out in Texas they know a lot about. I don't know.
Well, it's funny. I'm looking at the visitation list here. Yesterday, the center, Carter Miller from Central Florida, was supposed to visit. Also, let's see, other offensive linemen.
There's a kid from Louisiana coming in tomorrow.
Yep, the Louisiana kid, Bryant Williams.
Guy.
Yeah, Bryant Williams, the offensive tackle. Paul Mubenga from LSU, left guard. Also, he will be in on January 5th, which is today, and tomorrow is Bryant Williams. And a couple others to be determined, like Hank Purvis of Purdue, Grant Segrin of Oklahoma State, DJ Chester, LSU, Seth Smith, Northern Arizona. So there's some offensive linemen that are going to be coming because they got to sign some. They just absolutely do.
Yeah.
And we'll obviously be following that as we move along here because, you got to rebuild the whole room. Because the room right now is empty, Jay. It's a big empty room. It is. And it's not just about losing some starters, but that's a place where you always need depth. And guys will need a spell for a variety of reasons. Injury, tiredness, a 100-degree day in September. I mean, right. You need bodies. All right. And all right. Another thing we got to get into, sir. There was a new coach coming in because a coach left. So we got that to get into next as well here on the post-game show. Look, I got the show right. Look at me. Post-game show. Jay Phillips, Terry Ford, we're hanging here.
You don't need a second yellow card on the first day of the year. Man.
We'll talk some coaching changes on the Gamecock staff next here on the post-game show on the game.
it was talking with Coach Clayton, like Coach Beamer said, on the road, understanding that what he likes to do on defense, understanding who Coach Beamer is as a total head coach. That was really the draw. My relationship with Coach White, and then also, expanding and then going beyond Penn State. Been there for a long time, expanding out, seeing what I could do on another level with other guys. And I feel like God called me here to be able to, for a different purpose. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was all the factors in coming here.
That is Deion Barnes, who is the new defensive end outside linebackers coach at South Carolina. Jumping in because Sterling Lucas is no longer at South Carolina. We'll get to that in just a minute. Post-game show, Terry Ford, Jay Phillips, as we go till 6 here on the game. First of all, and we'll get to Sterling Lucas here in a minute, Jay, but Deion Barnes has a nice resume. He really does. I mean, Penn State's issues last year, that wasn't the defense that let them down. Let's just put it that way.
No, and again, I like Sterling Lucas, and I think Sterling Lucas is a good coach. I do. But I said on Twitter when this hire was made over the break, I was finding it difficult to not call this an upgrade. And while you may not, if you're Shane and Clayton, have been looking for Sterling Lucas to leave and to replace him, I say this so often, Terry, and you and I both, even though, we've been doing this a long time. And so much of what I say about coaching change, be it head coaches or their assistants, especially in football, it's all about timing. And, with what has happened at Penn State and that staff in flux, by the way, they made a really good hire. But to have a guy like Deion available, to have some knowledge of him, and so these coaches all know each other. I think it's industry term here, really, really good get for South Carolina.
Barnes coached the defensive line at Penn State 23, 24, 25. Penn State's had some good defenses the last few years. Some of those guys are in the NFL now. So, especially with what happened to you, like out of nowhere, and we'll get to that in a minute on Sterling Lucas, to be able to that quick turn around and get a guy who, for the last 3 years, has done a really nice job at Penn State with the defensive lineman, you got to feel good about that if you're Shane, because all the chaos in the coaching world kind of played to your benefit because there was a guy out there like Deion Barnes who was available to go get.
Well, and again, I don't know this, so this is this is part of what we do: sit here and talk. But let's just say that Sterling Lucas was still on staff, but somebody had come, maybe Deion's agent comes to Clayton White and Shane Beamer. Hey, my guy kind of wants to work with y'all. What do you think? Do you tell Sterling to kick rocks? Probably not.
No.
But again, hard to look at this and say it's not an upgrade. And at best, it's an upgrade. But I told you this morning, at worst, it is a direct like-for-like replacement. And so I'm taking that. But it is certainly not a downgrade in any way, shape, or form from what you had in Sterling Lucas. And I like Sterling. Yeah. Again, I'm not here to be critical of Sterling Lucas as a coach or recruiter.
Sterling's a hell of a recruiter,
but
man.
I'm saying, yeah. But I'm saying South Carolina, if you had to replace him, brother, you got yourself a winner.
Especially at this point in time, right? And, in January, all of a sudden, one of your guys takes off with not a lot of notice. We'll get to that in a minute. To be able to turn around and grab a guy who, like I said, for the last 3 years, did a really nice job at Penn State coaching the D line, and a guy that played in the NFL, popped around a little bit for a few years. Not a bad move when you all of a sudden didn't expect an opening and you had an opening.
I 100%. Again, I think it's an upgrade. And significant upgrade, no, I'm not here to say that either. But looking at the two resumes and what they've done, I think this is tremendous for under the circumstances, and those circumstances include you not having a good year last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fantastic move for South Carolina.
All right, let's get to the reason Deion Barnes is now a member of the Gamecock coaching staff. Sterling Lucas takes off and accepts a position at LSU with Lane Kiffin. Here is, I wouldn't say a happy Shane Beamer talking about this, Jay. Just saying. Here's Shane.
Certainly happened fast, as you guys No. Got a call on a Thursday night after 11 p.m. from the previous coach that was here, telling me that he had been offered a job at another school, and by 9 a.m. the next morning, he was gone. A little bit unusual. Usually you get a phone call from the head coach of the school kind of giving you a heads up that he's interested in maybe talking to one of your coaches or things like that. That didn't happen, which, again, there's no rule that has to happen, but, you know, it's kind of an unspoken rule. So didn't hear anything from the other school, didn't hear anything from the previous coach until he called to tell me that he had been offered a job. So it wasn't a very thorough interview process where you have a few days to kind of plan and think this might be coming down the track. It happened.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's an unwritten rule of protocol between coaches where you call and, hey, man, you know, I want to talk to your guy, or I'd love to talk to your guys. We'll give you a heads up. I'm going to talk to your guy, whatever. None of that happened. It's a shock it's Lane Kiffin, Jay. Who would think Lane wouldn't follow some unwritten rule of protocol? And Sterling didn't say anything either until he was offered the job. So you could tell whenever someone doesn't use your name, they're not happy with you, Jay.
Right.
I've learned this in life.
I agree, and I know there's. I guess we got one more cut on how Shane got to Dion, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm not overly surprised that it's Lane Kiffin in question. I don't know. Lane, you know, marches to his own beat, and that's fine. He's been successful. It's working for him, so I can't sit here and be overly critical. But you're right. I think you make a good point there. When you don't use someone's name, it's like the rival school, right? You know, the school, you know, here in South Carolina, the school in the upstate. Over in Mississippi, they say the school up north. They do that at Ohio State, right? The school up north.
Yep. Remember Bill Parcells? Remember Bill Parcells didn't want Terrell Owens, but Jerry Jones signed him in Dallas, and Bill Parcells called him the player. Right. Never would use his name. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You could. And Shane is not one to at least too overtly hold grudges or show too much displeasure. So I'm with you. When he does, and in this case he has, you can tell he's been disappointed.
And real quick, we'll play the Dion Barnes here. Shane introducing Barnes. It's just, I think, too, because Shane, you know, all that is such like he wants to create that family atmosphere and that family culture. And so I guess, I mean, you're with those coaches for so long, day in and day out. And I guess you just would expect something better from your guy on that side as well, that he wouldn't just pop you at the last minute and then all of a sudden within, 12 hours take a gig. So it's I totally get it.
And 11 o'clock, I know coaches operate on a different time scale and schedule, but 11 o'clock.
And then 9 a.m., you're pieced out?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I get it, man. I get it. All right, let's. I have some exes. I won't utter their names. Just saying.
There.
Here's Shane introducing Dion Barnes on Friday.
How you guys doing? I'm happy to be here. I want to thank Coach Beamer, Coach White for believing in me. I want to thank the board for believing in me as well. I'm more excited than anything to get to work. That's why I texted Coach Beamer last night, said I'm ready to get to work. I love this game. I love coaching young players. I love helping guys reach their full potential. That's what I'm all about. So I'm excited to get to work and help these guys out. And those that want to get to the next level, I'm going to push them towards that way. And I'm going to make this room even better than what the previous coach did. I'm happy to be here.
All right, so that was Dion Barnes, his introduction. That's not Shane.
Yep.
They sound nothing alike. But, I mean, look, again, you brought in a guy who's got a track record of the last few years of being successful at Penn State, and he's ready to rock and roll, man. You heard it. He's ready to go.
I think there are reasons for South Carolina fans to be very encouraged by this. Again, don't celebrate Sterling Lucas leaving. He was a good coach and a good recruiter. I think you get a really, really fantastic replacement in Dion Barnes. And in my opinion, it's an upgrade.
And especially, like I said, when this gets thrown in your lap like out of nowhere and you got to scramble to, figure out how you're going to replace a guy, it's pretty good deal what you got.
Bonus.
Yes,
Yeah.
in the situation.
That Shane and Clayton didn't have to sweat this one for too long, and they got this guy.
Yep.
This time of year, this and where the college football world is, bonus.
Absolutely. You want to hear some game show music coming up? You in the mood?
I do.
All right, a little Jay or Nay next on the post-game show on the game. All right, get some Jay or Nay in here. We just do this for the game show music.
That's right.
The rest of that
Has
stuff,
been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while since we got a little Jay or Nay here. All right.
I had somebody text me about that too, said they were ready for us to get that back on, that they missed that segment. I do too. I love Jay or Nay.
Oh, Jay Renee is great because, again,
I don't get to give my opinion enough on this show, so that's
yeah, damn right. It's about time you
I'm
started
kidding.
saying. It's about time you started saying something.
I know, right?
There, Phillips. All right, let's get a little. This may be going here. There we go. Now, Price is Right to get it started. Jay Renee, we're going to go over Black Monday in the NFL.
All right.
Jay Renee. Jay Renee. Pete Carroll being fired. Jay Renee. In Vegas.
Look, the Raiders are a mess. Pete Carroll, though, I mean, the guy knows everything about how to build a quality organization. I mean, college and pro, right? This one's a nay for me, and I'm a Bronco fan. I want everybody in the AFC West except the Broncos to do poorly, and my God, the Raiders did poorly, but this is a nay for me. I think this is a mistake. I think you go get Pete, some guys to work with. They had Chip Kelly, that didn't work out. But Geno Smith was never going to be the answer, and they're going to go get a quarterback with the first pick in the draft next spring.
Yeah.
But I still think he's a guy to run your organization. So no, I wouldn't have done this. It's an A for me.
I am with you, sir. I think you hire Pete Carroll, you give him more than 1 year. But this goes to who's the owner of the Raiders?
Yeah, Mark Davis doesn't know what the hell he's doing, man. I'm sorry. He does.
Once again,
he does.
I can't take a man serious with a Lloyd Christmas haircut. All right.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, Raheem Morris gets fired. Jay Renee.
This one, I guess Jay, because they parted ways with the GM too. Mr. Blank is a great owner. I think he really wants to be successful. He's done a nice job, in giving Atlanta a quality building. I know he didn't build the dome all by himself, but you got that. You got Atlanta United, who's doing well. The Falcons always seem to be good, but I mean that. Look, there's like bad, good, really good, and great. So they're usually good, which isn't necessarily something to write home about. But they can't ever seem to get out of their own way, Terry. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's a head coaching thing or if that's an Arthur Blank thing. Try something new. You've got some players. I like Bijan Robinson. I think he had a heck of a year for them. Penix can be good. And they might need some pieces on defense to be a little bit better, but I don't know. It's just it's a bad division, and you're not very good in it. 3, 8, and 9 teams? Is that right?
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
And you were the worst of the 3, 8, and 9s.
Yeah.
Whatever that might say.
All I know is this: this will be 5 coaches in 12 years now.
Yeah, so
that's an organizational ownership problem.
I like Arthur Blank. I do. I think he means well, but I do think a lot of this falls on him.
Jay Renee, Kevin Stefanski gets fired by the Browns.
If I'm Kevin Stefanski, look, this is a J, but not in the way you might think. This is a J for Kevin Stefanski to have just gotten out of jail, man.
I was getting ready to say, what kind of champagne are they popping at Stefanski's house right now?
I mean, he's a good coach. It's a bad organization. It's an owner that doesn't know what the heck is going on. I mean, really, this is 3 straight, organizations where ownership is the number one facet of why things don't go well. Jimmy Haslam was convinced that Deshaun Watson was the answer. To use a sports term, he has hamstrung his organization with Deshaun's contract. You and I were talking in a break just a minute ago. Deshaun's cap hit next year, and I'm no cap guy. You know way more about those things than I do, but I know money. And Deshaun will count $80 million against the Cleveland cap next season, and he may not be on the team. It's ridiculous what Jimmy Haslam has done. He doesn't know what he's doing. Stefanski might get one of these jobs. In fact, if I'm Stefanski, I might be looking at the Raiders job going, I kind of want that one. Number 1 pick. I got Brock Bowers. I got Ashton Jeanty. I'll get me a new quarterback to develop over a year. I'll have some time. I can go live in Vegas. Stefanski's going to be fine. So it's a J, but it's a J for Stefanski to have gotten out of jail.
Deshaun Watson will count 25% of the Browns' cap next year.
Ridiculous.
One dude.
And that's all Jimmy Haslam's fault. There is no one to blame but owner Jimmy Haslam, period.
All right. Well, that homeless guy told Jimmy Haslam to do it. The same guy that told me to draft Johnny Manziel.
How's
ready?
that working out for you?
Yeah, it's going great, Jimmy. All right, Jonathan Gannon in Arizona. Speaking of bad ownership, we're 4 for 4 on bad ownership.
Yeah, I know, right?
Jonathan Gannon, yay or nay?
Sure. I don't. Terry, the Cardinals had one fleeting great moment or two when they had Kurt Warner. Beyond that, the Cardinals. I mean, look at the NFC West, and you're like, oh, that's right. The Cardinals are in that division.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's 3 teams in that division capable of winning the Super Bowl this season, literally.
No, I just saw something. They've been relegated to the Pac-12. That just came out.
All right, there you go. Yeah, there you go. See, somebody will get a good NFL head coaching job and make some money. Kyler Murray may or may not be there. I don't know.
Jay or nay, sponsored by Jay here on the post-game show. 4 o'clock, we will we haven't even gotten to the college football playoff yet, Jay Phillips. That's next. That's coming up here on the post-game show.
First of all, my team and I want to give all the glory to God. What a historic venue, the Rose Bowl, one of the best venues in all of sports. It's such a great conglomerate of individuals coming together and really forming complementary football. Coach Sig has hit on us no complacency, and especially when you have a bye, it's tough to get in the rhythm of football. But once we got our feet on the ground, we knew that we're going to stick together and come out with this W.
Oh, there he is, Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana starting quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner, talking about winning the Rose Bowl. And what they did to Alabama, the Indiana football team should be arrested. Because if that wasn't assault for 4 quarters, I don't know what was.
Or should Alabama be arrested as imposters?
Impersonating a college football playoff team. I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah. Alabama's worst loss since 1998, man.
Brother, look, watching Indiana be Alabama and watching Alabama be 1977 Indiana was stunning. That was stunning. I mean, I thought Indiana was going to win and they were favored, but I never saw that coming, man. Wow.
No, nobody did. Nobody did. I mean, and that I think Cignetti has done. Look, last year, I will freely admit, I was skeptical. I was complimentary where I could be, but I didn't like their schedule. We picked on them a lot in the offseason. We picked on them when they announced in the summer that they were going to cancel the series with Virginia, all those kind of things. And I wasn't sure. I thought this year they would be good, but I thought they might come down a little bit. And instead, I think I, as someone who's covered this sport, well over half my life now, this is one of the best stories. And I don't just mean that win. I just mean what Curt Cignetti has done in 2 seasons. But this year, to elevate them, to be the Big Ten champion, to have a Heisman winner, to dismantle what has become the standard bearer for college football under Nick Saban, the way they did, as Fernando said in that clip, in an historic game, an historic venue, to hand Alabama their worst loss in nearly 30 seasons. They're favorites over a team they've already beaten. Looking forward to that game. I said on Twitter after that day, Terry, I said, I don't know if those 2 teams, Oregon and Indiana, could have played any better in their respective wins on New Year's, but one of them's going to go play for a title. We know that for sure.
Yep.
And I want to circle back around to Oregon in just a second too. But in terms of Indiana, just tremendous, man, and in all 3 phases. They can run. That obviously Fernando did a great job to win the Heisman. They come after you on defense. Their special teams are great. Cignetti leaves no stone unturned. I know he was a Saban disciple for many years ago. He wasn't one like Kirby or Lane or some of the others, but he had his time with Nick at Bama back in the day and learned and just wanted to be a head coach at a younger age. So I love what they're doing. And I don't know if they're going to beat Oregon, man. I mean, listen, and let me go back and find it. I know this much. Let me just say this, because I went back and looked. I was watching with one of my daughters. We were talking about the game. Texas Tech, Oregon. Texas Tech was shut out. Mm-hmm. The Texas Tech lost 1 time. And in their loss, they scored 23 points. I think 23 points.
They were in the 20s, yeah. Arizona State.
Yeah, it was 22 or 23 points. I forget. Yeah, Arizona State, they lost. Other than that, Terry, they scored at least 30. And in a couple, a lot of games they scored more than 40. A couple of games they scored, in some chump games, they scored more than 60. Mm-hmm. For Oregon to shut them out. And really, when you think about it, man, watching that game, Texas Tech never – I mean, I think there was one point where they could have maybe kicked and decided to try to go for a 4th down. I think I'm right about that. But other than that, they had nothing. Oregon was so thoroughly dominant on defense against a team like that. And I don't know how much of this I'm going to be careful because I like Texas Tech and what they were doing. I like what Joe McGuire did. I know they spent a lot of money on players. They got a good squad. Again, they can move the football at will a lot of times. But I do question how much of that was about their Big 12 schedule. Again, I'm not. It's not me being critical. It's me trying to say, as somebody who can analyze these things, wow, is Oregon really that good? Which I think yes. by the way, because Dan Lanning has built Oregon in the image of a Southeastern Conference football team from yesteryear, and it's working for Oregon. But that I don't know what was more surprising. I think the Indiana-Alabama, because it was the Rose Bowl, maybe more people were watching it nationally. And there's the Heisman winner and all of that. And again, mighty Alabama. That the Indiana-Alabama game on New Year's took more of the national storylines. But what Oregon did to Texas Tech, it was I mean, thorough is not really doing it justice.
Yep.
So I don't know what to expect in the Indiana-Oregon game, man. I got the only thing that kind of hacks me off is they're playing, and this take me as I say this. They're making them come and play in the daggum Peach Bowl, man. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I know,
right? You know, this is what I'm saying. This is dumb. I mean, you made Oregon and Texas Tech play in Miami. What are we doing?
Yeah, and that was
these aren't bowl games anymore.
No.
And I know I've said that a bunch on the show, so I just wanted to get that part off my chest. These games need to be on campus, Terry.
Well, that game, that crowd at the Oregon Texas Tech game. Come on, you're having one school's got to travel 3,000 miles, one's got to travel 2,000. It just was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
And you're playing early, on New Year's Day. And look, I didn't like Texas Tech was out partying all night, all right? So that's not a reason or an excuse or anything. I don't mean it like that. But, just a quick aside that I know what bowl games used to mean to college football. Those days are gone, okay? Just newsflash to those who run college football, those days are over.
Yep.
These are not bowl games. They are playoff
games.
And they need to be played on campus with the higher seed being the host. But anyway, I was just really impressed with Oregon. And again, man, let's now bring this in. I'm sorry to be jumping all over the place, but Miami was so impressive against Ohio State. And Ohio State, Terry, they didn't really play a great defense all season in the regular season. And then they played Indiana, and then they played Miami, and they didn't have answers. And they looked like a team that did not have answers. They had moments, but they didn't have consistent answers. And Miami, by the way, good for what Mario Cristobal has done with his team to have them believing. They caught a lot of flack from a lot of people. I might raise my hand a little bit
they
too.
Deserved it. They deserved the flack, sure.
But they have had two mightily impressive defensive performances in the playoff, man. So they have earned it. The one game that wasn't a defensive game was the Ole Miss Georgia game.
That was
we'll talk
fun.
about that one in a minute.
Yeah.
But the other ones, thorough dismantling of offenses by the winning team.
The thing with Indiana this is where I give Cignetti credit. Look, last year they got in the college football playoff and they got bullied by Notre Dame. They just got bullied. Cignetti left that game going, okay, if we want to really compete on a high level, we got to get better on the line of scrimmage. They went out and fortified the offensive and defensive lines through the portal in the offseason, and they came back, and they're beating the hell out of everybody at the line of scrimmage. What they did to Alabama on both sides of the ball is what Alabama used to do to people at the line of scrimmage. And so give Cignetti a lot of credit. He walked away from that game against the Irish in the playoff last year and said, we got to flat out get better at the line of scrimmage, and Indiana has, and you see that, and they're missing arguably their best defensive lineman who got hurt in the celebration winning the Big Ten championship.
Yeah,
so,
I think he jumped up and tried to high five a fan and landed wrong.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So, I mean, just the execution on both sides of the ball by Indiana is so flawless. They don't beat themselves. You better. And look, I think Oregon. I'm not saying Oregon didn't have a chance. We'll get into that later this week. But to beat Indiana, Indiana's not going to help you, is what I'm saying. You got to beat Indiana. Oregon put a pillow over the face of Texas Tech and slowly suffocated them. It was unbelievable. Yeah. The thing about Miami is defensively, we knew they were really good, right? It's just what we were saying is two things had to happen for Miami to advance. A, Mario Cristobal couldn't screw the game up like he has in the past. And B, Carson Beck can't throw the ball to the other team like he has in the past. And those two things so far have held, and that Miami defense is the truth. And Well, one thing I will
and
say.
Miami running the ball, Terry. The way Miami ran against Ohio State and just kept running, and Ohio State could not stop them. It was so impressive.
And this goes back to something else, too, that, Ohio State, after that Texas game, and Texas is good, they're not great, Ohio State played nobody the rest of the year. And the minute they got to the somebodies at the end of the year, like you said, with really good defenses, that Ohio State offense could do nothing. And
it capitulated.
Yeah, and so, Miami, give them their props. They're one win away from playing for the whole thing. And then, look, that Georgia-Ole Miss game, man, well, you and I talked about this during the holiday. Sometimes you just have to tip your cap to the other team and say, you made one or two more plays than us. What a hell of a game we just played. And that's really what it was. It was a fantastic
I know a lot of Georgia
game.
Folks are look, Georgia, even if he's one of their own, they don't like Mike Bobo, and they want to blame Bobo for some things, and I get it.
Yeah.
I just Trinidad Chambliss,
man,
was just, he had just flashes of absolute brilliance in that game, and Georgia is depleted in their secondary. I do think that contributed. I'm not going to say that's why, because Mississippi's a really good football team. We already knew that, and I'm going to give them their props all the way. I do think Georgia is more talented. I did pick Georgia to win, and I think, if you play 10 times, I want to say Georgia wins 7 of them, but you only play once. And Georgia, to be down the way they were, to come back and tie it, I still don't know. Kirby, at least in the postgame, admitted we weren't supposed to snap the ball there. I don't know what happened. You're playing with a substitute center who maybe got scared, nervous. I don't know. When you see all the angles, you see the left tackle, go inside instead of out, what the hell's going on here? He didn't know what was happening. Gunner didn't know he was going to get the ball. I don't know what happened there. But Georgia still came back to tie the football game, and with less than a minute to go, had their opportunity, and Ole Miss made the play, man.
Look,
you just got to give them credit.
Man, I get the Mike Bobo stuff to a point, right? I do. But Mike Bobo didn't give up 39 points.
No.
And look, the Georgia defense got worked, and yes, there's injury issues there. Ole Miss went for 473 total yards. Mike Bobo had nothing to do with that. And Georgia on offense scored 27 points, and the defense got the fumble return. But to sit there and I get it. Kirby's Kirby, and everybody protects Kirby because he's won 2 national championships. He's a hell of a coach. But that Georgia defense, they got worked. They just got flat out worked by Ole Miss. And this is one of the things, though, Jay, that comes to the portal era. Georgia's got injuries. Typically, Kirby Smart would turn around and say, which 5-star do I want to put in the game?
Yeah. He's got 1A, 1B across the board, and now they don't.
Now they don't because of the portal and NIL.
You're right.
So that's
to your point about Cignetti, I think, and this is just my opinion, I think Georgia is going to, and this may be scary for some in the SEC and around the country, I think Georgia is going to really take a hard look at what they do NIL-wise, Terry, to make certain that those things don't plague them next year, that they go ahead and pay some of those second-team guys to hang around. That's my opinion, that they'll do that, because I think Kirby, as a defensive guy, is going to look and realize it really wasn't our offense can be better here or there, but we have to keep people from scoring on us and moving the football on us the way we did, especially when it means the most. And they couldn't do that the other night. But again, I want to give Trinidad Chambliss his props, because
phenomenal.
I thought that kid, he was putting the ball in the right spot, play after play. They threw the ball 45 times.
Jay, the throw to set up the game-winning field goal, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I mean, but they had to throw the ball 45 times. Yep. They say had to, but they wanted to. It felt like, but tremendous.
And look, and for Ole Miss to be this close to playing for a national championship with all the wreckage that Lane Kiffin caused, God love Pete Golding and that crew, man.
I agree.
Big ups.
I agree. Although I think I got Miami in that one, man. The way that defense has been playing, but who knows at this point? I don't want to pick against Trinidad. I'll tell you that much.
We'll come back. Speed round, transfer portal, NFL playoffs. That's next here on the postgame show. Well, the new year is here, and maybe you want to celebrate it by doing some stuff to the home. Maybe some new appliances, new refrigerator, stove, range, ovens, whatever. Maybe you'd like to have a tub in the bathroom. Just sit in the tub, get a little bubble bath, get a little Mr. Bubble going. Have a bubble bath. Maybe you want to do new lighting, new fixtures, new plumbing. Call experts, people with over 70 years of experience. Call the Kreger Showrooms, formerly The Nest, 803-978-2025. Set an appointment, go in, see the greatest showroom in the history of showrooms. Sit down, tell the experts at Kreger Showrooms what you want to do, your goals, your vision, your budget. They will make it happen for you. Again, 803-978-2025. It's 2026. Celebrate it by redoing great things for your home and call the experts at Kreger Showrooms, 803-978-2025. Formerly The Nest on Gadsden in the Vista.
I'm just so excited for Panthers fans everywhere. The neighborhood is crazy. We were yelling from our couch as a family and walked outside where we normally, ride bikes and walk the dogs, and there was just neighbors out in front in the front yards. Everyone was really excited, but really, and also just proud of this team, proud of the coaches, the players, everybody involved. It took the whole season. It took 17 games, capturing opportunities along the way to be in position for this, and we're ready to chase the next championship opportunity in front of us.
That's Dave Canales.
Got the Florida Panthers, the two-time Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Right?
Oh, the
right?
Pitt
championships.
Oh, jeez. I would tell you, God love Dave Canales. That was Dave Canales, head coach of the Carolina Panthers. And look, man, you just want to stop him and go, Dave, I get you. You won the division. You're 8-9. You have no. The only reason you're in the playoffs is because you're in a bad division. So,
well, we knew that, though, right? We knew going into the season it was going to be a bad division.
Yeah.
And look, and we said all season, Terry, one of those teams, well, we knew New Orleans wasn't this year, but one of the other three who all finished 8-9 were going to get a home game because that's the way the NFL works.
Yep.
So you were going to get a home game in the playoffs. And by the way, the Panthers are 10-point home dogs on this weekend. I don't know if that's Saturday or Sunday, to be honest with you, but anyway, the Rams are going to fly out to Charlotte and be 10-point favorites coming into Bank of America. But good for them. I mean, they got a long way to go. I'm happy for Rico Dowdle. There's a lot of Gamecocks on that team. Gamecock fans. I know there's a lot of Carolina Panther fans around here now anyway, but a lot of Gamecocks on that team. And Rico had a good year. Bryce Young, you talk about guys that, he does often, too often throw the ball to the other team. Although a lot of times his picks are deflections for interceptions, too. I've noticed that in a couple of highlight reels.
Yeah.
But, no, good for them, and it took some help. I swear, if halfway through the game on Saturday, I kept thinking all they had to do was win. Mm-hmm. But it did take a little bit more than that, obviously. So
it was weird, man. I guess here's my thing. I get why the NFL wants divisions. I totally understand it. That's fine because you have some great rivalries, and you cut this thing up and being a division champion is something. I got no problem with winning a division and being in the playoffs. But once you should only be guaranteed to get in. Then an 8-9 team should not have a home game. I'm sorry. You just should not have a home game.
Right.
And that's my problem. I have no problem if you want to do divisions. That's fine. But you can't give an 8-9 team a home game in the NFL playoffs. And I know Seattle beat New Orleans when they were, 7-9 and won the NFC West. I know. But, again, we talk about that was an outlier. When you can pull out that one specific thing that happened, Jay, over years and years and years, that tells you it's very odd. And
no, I agree.
And I know the Rams lost at Carolina earlier in the season, 31-28. But I have a feeling the Rams are going to go in there and they're going to slap the taste out of their mouth. I think the Rams go win big.
I think so too. There's a reason they're a heavy favorite, and again, the Panthers will have a nice crowd.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. It'll take Matthew Stafford having an awful day.
Stafford's going to have to throw the ball to the other team. Bryce Young's going to have to really have a really good game. Rico's going to have to be efficient running the football. McMillan's got to make some big plays in the passing game. But for the Rams to truly lose this game, I think the Rams have to lose this game, if that makes any sense. And I root for Bryce Young.
No, it absolutely does.
Well,
the Rams, like I said, I mean, they're getting better. And you're right. Credit, in all seriousness, credit to Dave Canales. Yes. He has made them better. He there were so many knee-jerk reactions up there. I think to go back to a theme from earlier in the hour with NFL ownership, I think the owner in Charlotte is very knee-jerk as well. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know football, but he thinks he does, and that's a bad mix. I like owners like, just use Mr. Kraft as an example. I'm going to hire people, and they're going to go to work, and we're going to be okay. I'm a big Bronco fan. Pat Bowlen was that way in Denver while he was the owner of the Broncos. They went to the Super Bowl 7 times, and I think you heard about Pat Bowlen like 7 times.
Right.
It is. I hire people. Mm-hmm. They go do their job.
Yeah, right.
And these days, these billionaire guys, again, Jimmy Haslam think, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll watch this. Look at what I can do. How's that working out for you? Jerry Jones hadn't been even to an NFC Championship game since the Jimmy Johnson era. And don't tell me that Barry Switzer won a Super Bowl. Yeah. Because whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But good for Dave Canales. Good for the Panthers. Happy for Panther fans. Happy for my wonderful Aunt Judy, who I've not yet talked to since they clinched. I'll talk to her this week. She'll be excited up there in Charlotte.
I love what Dave Canales has done, too. I do. I think Canales has brought a professionalism and a process, and he's improved the culture. I think he's stolen the owner's key card, so he can't get in and screw stuff up. And, they've running the ball. They're giving Bryce Young help. They bring in McMillan, the wide receiver, who's made some plays.
Well, that dude, I love that guy.
Yeah, I mean, he just they.
And again, good for Rico. Rico's had a solid year, man, and he and Chuba Hubbard, that's a nice 1-2 punch.
Really is.
They're getting better, Terry. They truly are getting better.
And their offensive line was fit. I looked at the run block grades today in Pro Football Focus. Number 5 offensive line run block grades. They're getting better. And look, me saying they shouldn't have a playoff game at home, I'm not being mean. I'm being honest. I don't think an 8-9 team should host a playoff game. But I love the fact that the Carolina Panthers, they've been a punchline for years. It's nice to see them win that terrible division and get a chance to play in the postseason. That's fantastic. So I'm not hating on the fact they're in. They won the division. I just don't think they should have a home playoff game at 8-9. That's just me.
I agree. No, I completely agree. And but they do. And again, Rams. Listen, I think the Rams, as much as look, I know who the number 1 seed is in the NFC, the Seahawks, and they were really impressive against the Niners the other day. But I tell you, Terry, I think the Rams are going to win road games and get to the Super Bowl. I genuinely do.
I think they're the best team in the NFC. I do. And look, like you and I were talking about today,
they've been a little banged up, and that's kind of hampered them a couple of times this year. But I think but with their pedigree, which the Seahawks currently do not have. Nope. I like what the Rams can do, but who knows, man? I mean, that's one thing. I like this year's postseason.
It's wide open. It's wide. Look, here's the way I look at it with the Seahawks. Mike McDonald has obviously done a heck of a job as the head coach there. Sam Darnold has played well, but again, until he shows me something different, I don't buy into Sam Darnold in the postseason. I'll take Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay over Sam Darnold and Mike McDonald in the 2 most important spots when you're looking at the postseason, head coach and quarterback. That's just me. So,
I agree.
But
good for the Panthers.
Yeah,
good. And Panther fans all around the place. Our buddy Chris Clark is a big Panther fan, and I know a lot of people around here are. So I'm happy for them, and it's good. And I know there's some talk of Kevin Stefanski maybe being the Falcon coach again. He doesn't have to do much if he goes to Atlanta, which I think would be a good gig for him. You got Penix, you got Robinson. You mentioned you got Pitts, you got London. You got some nice pieces on offense. It's not much to ask, Terry, to say, hey, somebody in the NFC South, all you got to do is win 10 games and feel legitimate.
I got a great idea. How about a winning record next year? How about somebody have a winning record?
Right?
Let's baby steps. Somebody have a winning record. And look, if Kevin Stefanski shows up in Atlanta and he can work with Michael Penix, who was pushed into playing way before he should have been, and can work some of the kinks out of his game as a quarterback. You got Drake London, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Bijan Robinson. I mean, you got weapons, you got some young pass rushers on defense. There are some pieces there, Jay. The Falcons should not be where they're at. They should be better.
I agree.
They should just
if I'm the Falcons, I want to get a little bit better on defense, and I want to give that offense more opportunity to be on the field. That's my personal opinion.
Yep. So we'll see where all that goes. All right. Are you going to go take a nap?
No, I think I got one more in me, man.
All right. So
I got one more segment in me.
We'll hit the transfer portal because some quarterbacks are signing up, dude.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that next here on the post-game show. Jay Phillips, Terry Ford, going till 6 here on the game. All right, our first check on the roads this afternoon. Few accidents. West Columbia, Charleston Highway, Dixie Anna Road, also Harbison Boulevard at Bauer Parkway. I-20 eastbound before Bush River Road, that's exit 63. West Dunbar Road between Edmond Highway and East Steel Road. Heavy traffic. I-77 northbound between Fort Jackson Boulevard and Forest Drive, that's between exits 10 and 12. Stop and go traffic, I-26 westbound between Sunset Boulevard and St. Andrews Road, that's between exits 106 and 110. We'll come back to transfer portal. Quarterbacks are making moves. We'll get to that next here on the post-game show. A lot of portal action with the quarterbacks in college football. Post-game show, Jay Phillips, Terry Ford checking into this. Man, I tell you what, and I haven't seen a lot of this yet, Jay, about the money these guys are getting. But I'm sure, let's see. Brandon Sorsby, the former Cincinnati quarterback, goes to Texas Tech. They like to spend money, right, Jay?
Well, there's whispers that he's got a $5 million deal. Then I saw a little bit that refuted that and said, no, it's not quite that much. I'm like, all right, what, 4.9? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
I think it came down to LSU and Texas Tech for him. Rocco Beck is going to Penn State. I doubt that's a big money deal. I think that's Rocco just
wanting to go with Matt Campbell,
following Matt Campbell, which is good. And I'd like to know how much Indiana's going to give Josh Hoover. I think that's a great pickup. Here's 3 straight years where Coach Sig is going to go get a high-level guy, and based on what Fernando did this year, I think there's a lot of reasons to believe that Josh Hoover could set himself up for some awards next year, just based on how things are going. But Sorsby leaving Cincy. That's Texas Tech, man, high-powered offense. I like what McGuire does. Look, if they get paid, they get paid. That's up to the school. That's cool.
Hey.
I know there's a lot of fans out there that don't like it. I'm not sitting here saying, hey, keep it up. No rules are great. No, we do need rules eventually again, but I don't know when they're coming.
Yeah, I mean, look, for everybody's got an idea how you can make it better. There's 5 people who crap on it, right? We talk about, can you at some point have some kind of collectively bargained agreement?
Well, that's it. No, that's it, Terry.
And that's what I think. That's what I've been saying this for. You and I have been doing this for 4 years now, almost 5. I've been saying it for 4 or 5 years. You got to find a way to collectively bargain an agreement. Now there are very fancy, smart lawyers who are fighting if you can do this or not. There's some lawyers that say sure you can do it, and some say you can't. But I think you got to find a way, however you have to do it, in the context of how this is all set up. You've got to find a way to get everybody on board to sign off on rules that you can move forward with. Because every time somebody sets a rule, somebody goes to court and sues them. And that's got to stop. It's just got to stop.
It's got to stop. Yeah, and I don't think you're going to get there without collective bargaining. I mean, if you look, here's the grand irony, and I know we didn't really mean to go off on this, but here we go again, because this is where college sports are. Even if you get Congress to write you an antitrust law, and if you were to have that bill successfully pass both houses and be signed into law, someone's still going to go challenge it in court, because they're going to say that it goes against the Constitution and it goes against other laws, and so even until that particular case would be heard, Terry, you're still going to have the wild, wild west, because you'll get a judge somewhere to say, well, we're going to put that law aside until such time as it goes through the federal process. So collective bargaining is the way to go. That's gaining some traction again. There were a couple of reports over the holiday about some collegiate leaders understanding that collective bargaining is a path that more schools and leaders should be looking at. I know Danny White, the AD at Tennessee, is a proponent of it, so I think that's good to have a prominent voice in the Southeastern Conference doing that. And Greg Sankey, as the commissioner of the SEC, is not for collective bargaining, at least at this point. But ultimately, commissioners will do what the majority of their presidents and chancellors want them to do. So you've got to get those folks on board. And I don't see a lot of highest level collegiate leaders as of now being ready to support some form of collective bargaining. But I'm just telling you, people say, why can't they do it like the NFL? Well, look, NFL has collective bargaining.
Exactly.
End of story. This is not hard math.
No, it's not.
It's really not.
No.
And I know that with amateurs, air quotes, it's more difficult and with so many athletes, but there's a way to get some form of a term sheet, if you will, put together so that kids entering college from high school understand what they're signing up for and that they would still be subject to those things even if they enter the transfer portal, so that it doesn't have to be something for high school and something for the portal and whatever else. And then if conferences want to have things like the SEC does where you can't transfer from one school to another, and of course now there's only going to be one window, Terry, so that probably goes out the door. But there's ways to do this and stop the lawsuits. But the best way to stop the lawsuits is to have both sides agree to the terms in advance.
And look, man,
it's not hard.
I'll say this. I think I have a better chance of stealing Kate Upton from Justin Verlander than the NCAA and college athletics do of getting getting Congress to help them. Just saying.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Yeah, just saying. I mean,
But if you want to try, take it up
her
with
and
the
I have a history
first.
I can't speak of right now.
Well, I'm not getting involved in that.
But look, man. Here's the thing about the transfer portal, though, and the NIL stuff. And I know, look, you need guardrails, whatever you want to call it. Again, we've talked about this just now. If you can find a way to collective bargain in some way, shape, or form to get everybody on the same page, that would be the perfect solution to this problem. But think about this, Jay. Right now, we have Indiana, Ole Miss, Oregon, Miami. Miami hasn't won a national title in, 20 years, roughly, almost?
25.
25 years?
Yeah.
Indiana has won as many as you and I.
Yep.
Ole Miss, they won,
Oregon.
what, 1962, 1959, whatever.
Something, yeah.
You and I weren't born. My dad had hair. And Oregon, even though they have been a good program, they haven't won one either. So
they don't have a title yet.
And you look, in the college football playoff, you still had Ohio State, you still had Alabama, you still had Georgia. I mean, but
Oklahoma.
So look, I mean, to me, as much as everybody wants to gripe and scream and moan, show me what's bad right now. We got some new blood. We got a basketball school who's the number one seed in the college football playoff. Crazy. But we still got blue bloods. But it's just not an automatic run for blue bloods right now. I mean, help me. I mean, to me, some of this has really been really good because we get some new teams and everybody's got a chance. Everybody feels like they got a shot now because
I agree, man. I agree. I agree, and it is leveling the playing field. And Bruce Feldman had a good piece at The Athletic about that very thing, and it ties into how the SEC is having a bad year when it comes to bowl games, and they are. And some of it, I think there's we had earlier, about. Different factors, in terms of why kids are leaving school. Well, same thing with the SEC right now. I mean, some of it is highest level players on non-playoff teams opting out, but a lot of it goes to even now I know Georgia lost to an SEC school, but it counts as an SEC loss, but Georgia doesn't have quite the level of depth that they once had. Money being a factor. All these things are contributing to the Indianas and Oregons. Yeah, Miami rebuilding. Texas Tech doing what they're doing. Texas A&M to a large degree. It had a better year than expected, and then they were dismantled in the playoff by a great Miami defense. So, yeah, I'm with you. New blood is entering in, and Indiana should be, and Texas Tech to some degree, Terry, should be real case studies for a lot of schools. Hey, if they can do it, we can do it. And I mean, again, all due respect, and I'm kind of pulling for them, man. But if Indiana can do it, If Indiana can do it, everybody can do it.
Yes.
And that's not a knock on Indiana, but it's to say get the right mix, get the right coach, get the right guys, get the right formula, and you hit. I mean, and Indiana's hitting, so it's doable at a lot of places.
Yeah, and that's the thing of Indiana. You're right, because that puts pressure on everybody else because you're going, well, if bleeping Indiana can do it, why can't we?
Yeah,
And
sure.
So that's really that should be like the rallying cry of the country.
But
right?
I kind of like that pressure on schools, right?
Sure.
I kind of like that. Good for Indiana to have reset the bar, not even Iowa resetting the bar, right? or somebody like that. If Iowa or Wisconsin were doing this, we'd be like, it's Iowa, it's Wisconsin. That was Indiana.
Indiana. They should
Indiana.
they should make a movie about Indiana football. Gene Hackman should play Kurt Signetti.
I love that. Did you see Sig at the Rose Bowl postgame? It'd be a heck of a movie, wouldn't it?
Oh, I'm telling you, Sig's something else,
great.
man. All right, my man.
Tom Hanks, by the way. Tom Hanks should play Kurt Signetti.
Yeah, Gene Hackman can't. It just hit me. Anyway,
but Tom Hanks
Tom
can.
Hanks, yes.
That
would be a good one. All right, I'll leave you on that. Go take a nap, my man. I appreciate you.
I will.
We'll
Out tomorrow. Hopefully, I can join you for a little bit on Wednesday. We'll see how I'm doing. But last chemo treatment tomorrow, man. We're getting there.
Hey, good luck. We're all thinking about you and pulling for you, okay?
Thank you, bud.
All right,
Appreciate
my man. We'll
you.
talk to you. It's a post-game show. Come back. We will check the vault next. Time to crack open the vault. See what's happening on this day in the world of sports. A few interesting things happen. Won't go too far back. On this day in 1991, dig this, Kevin Bradshaw of U.S. International scored 72 points in a game. That broke Pete Maravich's NCAA single-game scoring record of 69. But, get this, Loyola Marymount, that's back when Paul Westhead was the head coach and they were running and gunning at Loyola Marymount, they set the NCAA scoring record with 186 points. Yeah, Loyola Marymount took out the U.S. International Gulls 186 to 140. Yes, Kevin Bradshaw scored half of the Gulls' points in that loss. This day, 1993, Reggie Jackson was the only player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Jackson, 563 career home runs, played on 5 championship teams. I, being from Baltimore, being an Oriole fan, Reggie played in Baltimore 1 year in 1976. Held out, showed up late. Played 1 year, pieced out. Reggie was booed a lot when he would come back to Baltimore, and Reggie really didn't care because he made a ton of dough as a free agent and went with the Yankees. 1996, Miami Dolphin head coach Don Shula announces his retirement as the NFL's winningest head coach of all time. It was interesting because Shula won his championships in the 70s, got back to the Super Bowl in the early 80s, and then after that, and was 84 the last time when the Dolphins and Dan Marino got beat by the 49ers? Then Don Shula went over a decade without getting back to the Super Bowl. We throw a little Carolina Panther love in. 1997. The second year Carolina Panthers behind John Casey's 4 field goals beat the Dallas Cowboys to advance the NFC Championship game. Again, 1997. Where I believe they lost to the Green Bay Packers. 1999, Nolan Ryan, George Brett, Robin Yount all voted to the Baseball Hall of Fame, the biggest class of first-time candidates since Babe Ruth and 4 others were picked in the original election of 1936. George Brett, Robin Yount, Nolan Ryan. That's a trio right there, man. I mean, look, Brett was phenomenal. Obviously, Nolan Ryan pitched till he was like 80. Robin Yount also. Started his career at shortstop. I think he was 19 when he came up. Then he moved to center field, was an MVP. Very, very underrated guy who's not really talked about that much anymore. But those 3 elected to the Hall of Fame today, 1999. This day in 2013, Aaron Rodgers connects with an NFL playoff record 10 receivers as Green Bay beat Minnesota 24-10. Again, 2013 playoffs. 2021. The Heisman Trophy was given out on this day. And what the heck? Let's hear it.
Thank you, Chris. I'm grateful for the opportunity to announce the 2020 Heisman Trophy winner. Congratulations to the finalists, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Devontae Smith, and Kyle Trask. In a season that almost wasn't, you brought distraction, hope, and inspiration, lifting spirits during a very dark time. And to the winner, be mindful that you will become a member of the most elite athletic fraternity in the world, that your name will forever be associated with the legacy of being a Heisman Trophy winner. And now, without further ado, the 2020 winner of the Heisman Trophy is Devontae Smith of the University of Alabama.
Check on the roads. Some of that stop and go traffic happening I-26 westbound between Sunset Boulevard and St. Andrews Road between exits 106 and 110. Charleston Highway and Dixiana Road, an accident in West Columbia. A couple of accidents in Columbia, Emmanuel Church Road at Kittywake Drive and West Dunbar Road between Edmond Highway and East Steel Road. Heavy traffic also I-77 northbound between Fort Jackson Boulevard exit 10 and Forest Drive exit 12. Now, coming up tomorrow night right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, men's hoops. The Gamecocks will travel to Baton Rouge to take on LSU again, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip. The women will go at it Thursday night on our sister station, B106, 7 p.m. Again, the women on B106. On Thursday, we have Carolina Calls on Thursday here on 107.5 The Game and also in Myrtle Beach with Lamont Paris. Jump back in here. 5 o'clock news is next from Integrated Media. All right, time to check the 5 o'clock news, sponsored by our good buds at Integrated Media. Deion Barnes named as the new edge / outside linebacker coach at South Carolina, replacing Sterling Lucas, who left for a gig at LSU. Here is Deion Barnes talking about coaching. That's interesting. How that happened. We'll get to that here in a little bit. I love when the computers update, they just update. So interesting. We'll get to that. We will. But Deion Barnes hired by South Carolina to replace Sterling Lucas, who just kind of took a gig at LSU. Of course, Shane Beamer, we played the cut a little while ago. Not very happy with the way the whole thing went down. Which again, you understand. Hey, you get it, right? Guys leave. It happens. But what you don't like is the guy leaving and the proper heads up doesn't occur. And so Shane was not happy with all that. But getting Deion Barnes, a good get, especially at this point in the year where you think your coaching staff is okay, then it's not. And you go out and get a guy for the last 3 years who's done a nice job coaching the defensive line at Penn State. Now, here's Deion Barnes talking about coaching Dylan Stewart.
I mean, it's a blessing to have him in the room. But I came down here because I believe in Coach White and Coach Beamer. But it's definitely a blessing. I'm excited to be able to coach him up and help him get better. So it's definitely a big part of it as well. But I'm ready to coach all those guys in the room.
I mean, you know, there was some concern that Sterling Lucas, who was really, really important and vital in the recruitment of Dylan Stewart, Sterling Lucas going to LSU, could Dylan Stewart end up somehow going to Baton Rouge as well? Obviously, that didn't happen, which is really good. And there's Deion Barnes talking about getting a chance to coach Dylan Stewart in his third season at South Carolina. Here is Deion Barnes also with his evaluation of the edge room at South Carolina.
Talking with them guys on the phone, sound like them guys is hungry, sound like them guys is ready to work, and they're willing to do what's needed to be done to put the work in. So from the sense I got from the room, it's a real hungry room that's ready to, go out there and do even better on the football field.
So it'll be interesting to see where this whole thing ends up. I think you need another edge player, obviously, through the portal that will team with Dylan Stewart. You'd love to get, Brian Thomas was fine last year, but you'd love to get someone on the other side who could bring it like Kyle Kennard on one side, Dylan Stewart on the other. Last year, Dylan Stewart saw a ton of doubles, getting chipped a lot. Teams did everything they could not to let Dylan Stewart beat him. Again, Brian Thomas was fine, but he wasn't Kyle Kennard, obviously. So we will see where everything goes in the portal, but Deion Barnes brought in, replacing Sterling Lucas. Okay, portal shopping, South Carolina. They get Jaden Gibson, the first commit for South Carolina since the portal opened. 6'5", 197 pounds. Hasn't played in 2 years. But when he did play in 2023, only had 14 catches, but for 375 yards, it's way over 20 yards a grab, almost 27 yards a catch, 5 touchdown catches in 14 receptions. So when he did play a couple years ago, he made some big plays. Missed the last 2 years with a patella tendon issue. So we'll see where all this goes. But some interesting potential with Jaden Gibson. We'll just see if that potential can be fulfilled. We'll find out. All right, also looking at the portal, some visits. Carter Miller, offensive lineman from Central Florida, reports are he had his visit yesterday. Today, Nate Palmer, running back TCU, and left guard Paul Mabenga of LSU. And we'll focus a little bit on Mabenga. If you look at his Pro Football Focus numbers, I think it's not the end-all, be-all, but it just gives us a gauge what the grades say about Mabenga. Really good pass blocker, a 75 pass block grade, which is definitely thumbs up. Struggled a bit in the run game at only 45, which is below average. But Mabenga coming in today, according to sources. Tomorrow, Bryant Williams from Louisiana, offensive tackle. Randy Pittman, tight end from Florida State. Other offensive linemen coming in, Hank Purvis of Purdue, Grant Seagren of Oklahoma State, DJ Chester of LSU, and since we're on the LSU page on Pro Football Focus, DJ Chester, below average grades. Run overall around a 50, which is below average. Run blocking grade 56, pass blocking grade 43, all those below average. Chester, he played 291 snaps. He wasn't the starter. Braylon Moore was, who had a really good year at LSU. But DJ Chester also could be showing up on a visit. Purvis, Seagren, and Chester, their visit dates to be determined. But again, yesterday, Carter Miller, center from Central Florida. Today, left guard Paul Mabenga from LSU. Tomorrow, offensive tackle Bryant Williams from Louisiana. So you got to get some offensive linemen in here so you can fill up your offensive line room because you've lost a ton, obviously, in the portal. That's the latest on South Carolina when it comes to the transfer portal. Speaking of the transfer portal, Shane Beamer talking to the media Friday when he introduced Deion Barnes as the new defensive of the edge outside linebacker coach. Shane was asked about a couple different things, and he was asked about his priorities as now the portal season's open and it's time to go shopping.
Met as a staff this morning, Hale at 8, and really talked about that to me, every position is a need with where we are. You can make the argument you need more at every position, and you do, just from a depth and competition standpoint. But I wouldn't say that anything has necessarily changed. I can't remember if Jalen and Brandon Cisse had made their announcements yet at that point or not. So, if I said that day and then right afterwards 2 starting DBs announced they're entering the NFL draft, and certainly we've got some talented DBs in that room, but you need to increase the competition in that room. As you guys have heard me say, you have target numbers at every position that you want to be at, and some of those have changed because of NFL decisions that guys made. But I wouldn't say there's any drastic changes in what the priority is. It's still the line of scrimmage. I would say, defensive end, outside linebacker, defensive tackle, offensive line. We got to, you watch some of those games this past weekend, man. It's look at the guys that are dominating on the line of scrimmage and the defensive line position. They're the ones that are having a lot of success in these playoff games. There's no doubt about it. So it starts inside out. It starts up front, and that's where we've got to get better by adding to what we already have, because we've got some really good players on both sides of the ball that are coming back on the line.
All right, so real quick, Shane obviously was talking Friday at the press conference introducing Deion Barnes as a new edge outside linebacker coach. And Sterling Lucas, of course, exiting. And I'll replay this cut for you if you didn't hear it earlier in the show. Here's Shane Beamer talking about Sterling Lucas's exit from the South Carolina coaching staff.
Certainly happened fast, as you guys know. Got a call on a Thursday night after 11 p.m. from the previous coach that was here. telling me that he had been offered a job at another school, and by 9 a.m. the next morning, he was gone. A little bit unusual. Usually you get a phone call from the head coach of the school kind of giving you a heads up that he's interested in maybe talking to one of your coaches or things like that. That didn't happen, which, again, there's no rule that has to happen, but, it's kind of an unspoken rule. So didn't hear anything from the other school, didn't hear anything from the previous coach until he called to tell me that he had been offered a job. So it wasn't a very thorough interview process where you have a few days to kind of plan and think this might be coming down the track. It happened.
So there's Shane. Obviously, the way this thing went down, Lane Kiffin didn't contact Shane about, hey, I want to talk to one of your guys, blah, 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 blah. Sterling Lucas didn't really get to Shane until he was offered a job. So the whole thing should have played out different. If you go by the unwritten rules and the unspoken thing of you reach out to the coach whose coaching staff you're trying to poach a guy off of. But again, are we surprised with anything Lane Kiffin does? Of course not. And right now, Lane Kiffin has become the heel, right? He just has in the world of college football. And look, if you listen to the show, what Lane Kiffin did, I wasn't down with. You don't turn your back and walk away from a college football playoff team. And by the way, they're one win away from playing for the title. You left Ole Miss because you had better resources at LSU and a better chance to win titles. I get you, but guess what? The team you left might win a title after you leave. Just saying. I won't lie to you. Personally, I'm rooting for an Indiana-Ole Miss championship game because I can't lose. Indiana's a great story. Ole Miss is a great story. No matter who would win, it would be a great story. That's just me. All right, speaking of college football, the transfer portal is cooking. One guy who reportedly won't be in it is Trinidad Chambliss, the starting quarterback at Ole Miss. He says if he does get an okay with the waiver, he is put in for the NCAA for another season. If he does win, he is going to stay at Ole Miss. Again, if he does get the waiver, we don't have time to get into all that mess because we know how that goes with the NCAA. You never know. But Trinidad Chambliss says he will stay if he does win. Brandon Sorsby, quarterback at Cincinnati last year, has now committed to Texas Tech. Look, Sorsby really upped his game last season. And if he plays at the same level he did in the upcoming campaign of 2026, Texas Tech did really well. We'll see if Sorsby is more of just a one-year wonder or if he really locked in and can carry that to Texas Tech. Rocco Becht, who had an up-and-down season at Iowa State, rejoins his head coach Matt Campbell at Penn State. Becht has a lot of ability. We'll see if he can kind of get more consistent in 2026 than he was in 2025, but a very talented dude. And TCU's John Hoover will join Indiana. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza will be leaving to go to the NFL draft. Indiana needs a quarterback. Josh Hoover's got a ton of skill. Had a lot of turnovers, though, in the second half of 2025. But a guy 2 years ago had a really, really nice season for the Horned Frogs. NFL Black Monday is here. Dudes got canned. Pete Carroll got fired by the Raiders. You don't hire Pete Carroll for a year. I know Pete Carroll's in his 70s, but the dude's got more energy than most guys in their 30s. You hire Pete Carroll for multiple years. The idea that you hired and fired Pete Carroll in 1 year just shows you how dysfunctional and idiotic the Raiders are. And look, Mark Davis might be a nice fella, might buy you a beer, be friendly, talk to you, walk your dog. He's a terrible owner. What he's done, it's just a joke. Also in the NFL, other folks getting canned. Kevin Stefanski got canned in Cleveland. Look, Truck Stop Jimmy, who's a disaster as an owner, you'll see a theme here. Yeah, he might have fired Kevin Stefanski after back-to-back last-place finishes in the AFC North, but really, Deshaun Watson got Kevin Stefanski fired. And again, who was behind that? Oh, Truck Stop Jimmy. I mean, look, no one thought Deshaun Watson would end up being what it ended up being. $80 million next year against the cap is what Deshaun Watson's going to cost Cleveland. 25% of their cap space is sucked up by a guy who hasn't played 20 games since he was acquired, and it's just been a mess. Good work, Truck Stop Jimmy. Also in the NFL, Jonathan Gannon fired in Arizona. Again, bad ownership, but, Gannon, it was a struggle. They were okay last year, but this past season, things just went sideways. and Gannon gets fired. So Black Monday rolls on. There are firings are happening. And we hear anything else, we'll keep you up to date on all that. So that's a 5 o'clock news sponsored by Integrated Media. Gamecock Notebook. We'll get you caught up on what's happened with the men's and women's basketball teams. That is coming up next here on the halftime. Well, I did it again. Here on the postgame show. Terry Ford on the game. Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Look, it's a new year. I don't know if you've made any New Year's resolutions about you want to get it together, or you're getting older. You just don't feel like what you used to feel like. It's time to do something about it. You're never too old to try to get yourself back to kind of being who you used to be, whether it's a lack of sleep, a lack of drive in life. You can't remember things like you used to. You're not as strong at the gym. You don't bounce back from exercise like you used to. Maybe you're not feeling like yourself. Maybe you're depressed. Whatever the case, call 803-875-MENS. Set an appointment with Dr. Dan, the folks at the Men's Clinic of South Carolina. Go in, tell them your story. It might just be low T. If it is low testosterone, they'll put you on a program specifically designed for you to get you back to being you again. Again, 803-875-MENS. Just make the call. Go in. It might change your life. The Men's Clinic of South Carolina. All right, time to crack open the Gamecock notebook. We will start what happened over the weekend. Gamecock men, well, it was not a good night at CLA or a good day at CLA as Vanderbilt came in. Look, Vanderbilt's undefeated. They're good, man. Vanderbilt is good. 14-0, wins their SEC opener. South Carolina loses theirs 83-71. And really, South Carolina had opportunities early-ish in the first half, maybe the first 10 minutes of the first half. But slowly, Vanderbilt took the lead, got it out to double digits. And really, South Carolina did not threaten. At no point of this game did you think South Carolina was going to come back. You just didn't. Vanderbilt was just better. They shot over 50% from the floor, 43% from three, made 83% of their free throws, out-rebounded South Carolina. It just was, you sat back and went, Commodores they're better. And South Carolina was kind of like a head-scratcher. Our Gamecocks take 58 field goal attempts. Shoot 28 of those 58 from three-point range, make only 7. That's 25% from three. And if you break it down, they shot 18 of 30 inside the arc. Now, again, part of South Carolina's success, they're one of the best two-point shooting teams in the country. And one of the worst three-point shooting teams, by the way. But the reason they're so good shooting inside the three-point arc is because they spread the opposing defense out at the three-point line, and that way they don't have a lot of heavy traffic in the lane. You can't double them, you can't help, and they get some one-on-one opportunities to score some buckets. And South Carolina is also a heck of a free throw shooting team. Vanderbilt, by the way, fouls like nobody's business. They're one of the most fouling teams in the country. South Carolina got 18 free throw attempts. My thought is, if you are going to play against a team that fouls a lot, and because you spread the floor, when you go to the rack or you take the ball inside the three-point line, you're really good and efficient in scoring, and you're a good free throw shooting team, maybe you should shoot less threes and attack the basket. Still spread the floor, but now go attack the basket, get to the line. Go to your strength. Lamont Paris, because South Carolina didn't do that. Lamont Paris, though, talked about the idea of trying to get to the free throw line more against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, well, I mean, we always want to get to the free throw line. They foul a lot. We obviously talked about that as a thing, They foul when you drive, typically, or when you're attacking, they attack you when you're attacking. And so we were discouraged by that. We were ultimately discouraged. So some teams are different in what type of a pressure that they apply. Theirs is more, okay, we're going to guard you this way. There'll be an opportunity. You think it's an opportunity. You attack that opportunity. While you're attacking that opportunity, we are going to attack you. And so, at some point, guys get discouraged. So, yeah, I mean, there was a stretch where in the second half, we settled for that's why I mentioned, we settled for way too many threes, right? I'm all for a three, but, the type of three, you have to be willing to generate and able to generate points off the dribble or off of a post-up. We tried to run some post-up plays. We weren't able to deliver the ball to guys when they posted up. So it wasn't by design, I'll say it that way. It wasn't by design. We had a whole timeout. I threw a couple of swear words in there. I mean, all we talked about was being aggressive and attacking the basket and what kinds of moves. I did a demonstration and didn't pull a muscle, but we got to be aggressive. You got to attack. It's just the way the game goes. We're shooting a high percentage from the free throw line also. So, my goal's always been to make more free throws than the other team takes, individually in each game and certainly for the whole season. But, yeah, we got discouraged. I think we got discouraged because as we tried there were some roadblocks up as we tried to drive. We didn't have some successes, and I think we got discouraged and we settled a little bit.
That's got to drive you crazy as a coach. When you set a game plan to attack the basket, get to the line. And your team shoots over half of their shots from three. And they get discouraged. They don't want to attack. And then during a timeout, you say, hey, fellas, let me break out this game plan thing here and show it to you again. Here, I got a PowerPoint. Follow me on this really quick. And they still don't go do it. And they just settle for threes. I mean, it's got to drive you to drink. But, South Carolina, just look, you're not. The Gamecocks really fast. The men. The breakdown. They take the amount of three-pointers South Carolina takes is number 30 in the country. 48.5% of their shots are from three. They make 30.7%, which is 291st in the country. Two-point shooting, South Carolina is 9th in America at almost 62%. Free throw shooting, South Carolina is 7th in the country at almost 80%. So you see why Lamont, the game plan was go after him. Get to the line, get fouled, go to the rack, be aggressive. It just did not happen. The women, though, they were victorious. It was a tough one. It was a rock fight with Florida. South Carolina wins 74-63 in the postgame. Here's Dawn talking about surviving just a really tough test.
I mean, they're all going to be like this. Like, they're not going to be like, we just going to walk through and win games by 30 points. That is not how it's going to be in our league. But, I mean, we knew it was going to be a tough game. Last time we were here, we were down big. Like, it might have been double digits. You remember? Last time we were double digits, early, double digits. So we reminded our players of that. I don't think any of them were on the team, maybe Raven. So, I mean, we keep that in the back of our minds and just, in real time, you got to figure out how to win. You got to make adjustments. You got to make sure your players are confident enough to turn the page and get to the next thing, so it doesn't impact, what's happening in real time. So, I mean, they're still very young, still a young group as far as how much time they've been together, but they're growing up.
Look, you don't have Tanaya Latson, your second leading scorer, who was bagging 17 a game and being really efficient doing it. She was hitting almost 52% from the floor, 42% from three, over 80% from the line. Obviously, Latson's a loss. She's been in the boot. We'll see what happens there. South Carolina, though, how they won this basketball game, they didn't shoot it well at all. 34% from the floor, 24% from three. What they did do, pulled down 59 bleeping rebounds. So South Carolina missed 46 shots. They offensive rebounded 26 of them. So they offensive rebounded over half their missed shots, roughly. That helps you win games. Plus, you did cause 20 turnovers, which, you turned it over 21 times yourself. So basically, look, that was a rock fight. South Carolina found a way to survive, and they win 74-63. That's what really good teams do. You might not have your A game or your B game or your C game or your G game or your F game, but what you do is find a way to win even though it ain't your night. So again, the men, 6:30 tomorrow night, pregame, 7 o'clock tip right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, as the men take on LSU in Baton Rouge. Thursday, the women are on B106, 7 o'clock against Arkansas in Fayetteville. That's a Gamecock Notebook. We got to come back and take a drive around the SEC. That is next here on the post-game show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging here on the game. Checking the roads here at 5:30. Accidents, we have a few. 2 Notch Road at Sparkleberry Lane. Also, I-20 westbound at Longs Pond Road. That's exit 51. Also, I-20 eastbound at I-26, exit 64. West Columbia Enterprise Parkway at Old Barnwell Road. Back in Columbia, Emmanuel Church Road at Kitty Drive. And back in West Columbia, Charleston Highway at Dixiana Road. We have some stop-and-go traffic still. I-26 westbound between Sunset Boulevard and St. Andrews Road. That's exits 110 and 106, right between those two. And also heavy traffic, Richland, I-77 northbound between Fort Jackson Boulevard, exit 10, and Forest Drive, exit 12. We'll come back, give you a drive around the SEC. That's next here on the post-game show. I drive around the SEC. Obviously, a phenomenal quarterfinal in the college football playoff between Ole Miss and Georgia. Back and forth, and Trinidad Chambliss was phenomenal. The quarterback at Ole Miss. It was easily the most entertaining game of the four. And if in case you missed it, here is the game winner for the Rebels.
47 yards. And it is good! Right down the middle!
So there was the game-winning field goal. Ole Miss takes out Georgia, moving into the college football playoff semifinals. Taking on Miami should be an interesting game. I mean, Miami's defense has been just stupid good in their 2 wins in the playoffs. But Ole Miss, look, Georgia's defense might not be as good as Miami's. It's good. Oklahoma's defense is really good. Ole Miss found a way to score points against the Sooners in Norman. What I'm trying to say is, yeah, Miami's got a really good defense, but Trinidad Chambliss and that Ole Miss offense, up to the challenge all year. Even in the game they lost to Georgia in the regular season, for 3 quarters, Ole Miss moving the ball up and down the field on the Bulldogs. So it's going to be fun to watch the Ole Miss offense against the Miami defense. But in games like this, whenever we always focus on that big matchup, usually it's the other matchup that, settles the game in one way, shape, or form. The Miami offense, they've run the ball really well with the Canes. Carson Beck hasn't done anything stupid with the rock. And the Ole Miss defense, which stepped up when it needed to against Georgia, but has been looked at as nowhere near as good as last year's Rebel defense. So that could very well be the matchup that settles the football game, not the sexy, fancy matchup of the Ole Miss offense and the Miami defense, just saying. Now, the SEC conceivably could get a team in if Ole Miss can get past Miami. The Big Ten is guaranteed, again this year, a team in the final. And if Indiana or Oregon wins the whole thing, that's 3 straight years for the Big Ten. There's been a lot of articles and a lot of talk and a lot of yapping about the SEC this postseason. And what's happened. Now, I said this last year, I said the year before, I think since we've seen this wave of the transfer portal, players leaving to go to the NFL, bowl games don't matter, everything's case by case. It's tough to gauge any conference or any team on their bowl game if it's not a college football playoff game. Who stays, who leaves? Who's going to the portal? Who's going to the NFL? It's, every game is different, and every team is of itself in the postseason if it's not a college football playoff game. Now, yeah, the SEC, Tennessee losing to Illinois 30-28, that was a thing. In the Liberty Bowl, yes, Vandy lost to Iowa. In the ReliaQuest Bowl, And those are games you were like, you would think the SEC might win? Because those aren't the top teams in the Big Ten. But look, the world's changing. It just is. The NIL and the transfer portal have even the playing field. The SEC's big advantages aren't as big anymore. There are people saying, well, now that you can pay everybody legally, the SEC lost their advantage of paying people against the rules. How much of that is, could that be a thing? Sure. Look, the other thing that helped the SEC was you had Nick being Nick at Alabama, and then Kirby popped up and won a couple titles at Georgia. And you've had an occasional LSU with that historic team winning the title in, was it 2019? So I guess without Nick Saban and Alabama not being Dynasty Alabama, obviously that knocks down the SEC. Look, Kalen DeBoer's not Nick Saban. I know. Shocker. Wow, really, Tara? He's not. And Kirby's Georgia team the last couple of years hasn't been as good as his previous Georgia teams who, were championship caliber. The SEC, have they come down a bit to the rest of the pack? Sure. But the SEC is still the SEC. But yeah, the playing field's been leveled for everybody in a lot of ways. It's all about money. Can you spend it? If you can, you got a chance to win. Not saying spend it's the end-all, be-all. There are teams who spend a lot of money in the portal and they screw it up and don't do it right. And they don't win. LSU last year, coming into the 2025 football season, LSU killed it in the portal, baby. Yeah. How's their head coach, Brian Kelly, doing? Oh, that's right. He's not the head coach anymore. How's LSU in the college football playoff? Oh, my bad. But you got to spend money the smart way. You got to have the money, but you got to be smart with it. It's just the way of the world now. So, yes, the SEC has come down a peg because, the talent doesn't want to wait anymore. They want to go play. And, you have this NIL thing, and there's some players you're not going to pay because you got to pay others. And so maybe a guy who's good, who thinks he should get more than you're giving him, is going to go somewhere else, and that hurts your starters or hurts your depth or whatever. Yeah, the SEC has taken some hits here in the last couple of years. But the other thing, too, is you've lost Nick Saban. And there are people saying, well, Nick Saban got out because he saw what was going to happen. Maybe. I don't know. Nick and I don't talk anymore. But the people that are screaming and yelling about the SEC not being as good and they're being overrated and blah, 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 they're still really good. They're just not dominating. And the biggest thing to me is losing Nick Saban, because if you look at all this dominance of the SEC, most of it was Alabama. But there's been a ton of stuff out there about the demise of the Southeastern Conference. But if Ole Miss can find a way, then that talk will stop. And again, it's Ole Miss in the college football semifinals from the SEC. It's not Georgia. It's not Alabama. Not LSU. Not Auburn. Not Texas or Oklahoma. Ole Miss. That's the world today. And like we talked about Indiana with Coach Sig, if Indiana can do it, why can't my favorite team? That should be on a T-shirt. Really should. If Indiana can do it, why can't blank? Because that's just, everything's changed in the way we think about this stuff. And look, blue bloods are still blue bloods to a point. They're still going to be good every year, mostly. But they're just not going to get that automatic rubber stamp of, wow, you're so much better than everybody else. Those days I feel like are over. Just does. Because you just don't have the depth anymore because those guys want to go play somewhere else, make NIL dough and be a starter. So, but the SEC's okay. But I always circle back to the loss of Nick Saban and what he did at Alabama that really boosted the SEC. The SEC's a hell of a conference, but Nick took everything to another level of what he did at Bama. There's your drive around the SEC. We'll come back, see what's going on from the Vegas angle of the sports world tonight. It is a post-game show. Terry Ford, appreciate you hanging out. We go up until 6, and then the best of the game coming up on the game in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, and Charleston. I'm sorry, I was distracted. Remember, I've told you that my that crack, the front of my phone got cracked because I'm an idiot and dropped it when I walked out of Panera Bread like months ago. And I hadn't replaced the phone because, again, I didn't want to go through all that mess. I've noticed that, as I'm getting older, I have bleep for patience. I just don't have patience. I just don't. I just don't feel like going in and taking God knows how long to upgrade a phone or whatever. And it's almost like buying a car or it's crazy. You spend hours in a phone store. Look, I'm not dogging anybody. I mean, that's what you got to do, right? But I just oh my God. I could be doing anything but this. So my family decided, to put me out of my misery, and they bought me a phone for Christmas. So I've been getting that set up, and of course, nothing's going the way it should. So and I like the phone, I do. It's cool, and I appreciate it, but man, trying to get this thing taken care of. Working on it. This just popped. CBS Sports' Matt Ryan is expected to be hired as the Atlanta Falcons president of football operations. Of course, Ryan, the best quarterback in Falcons history, won the MVP award the year the Falcons went to the Super Bowl and went against the New England Patriots. But Matt Ryan looks like he'll be the grand poobah of football operations for the Falcons. Again, former players, usually it does not work well. Yes, John Elway was in charge of the Broncos. They won a Super Bowl. Elway's biggest problem, it's ironic because he was a quarterback, but he couldn't get the quarterback position right, besides, luring Peyton Manning to Denver for a few years. So we'll see what Matt Ryan can do, because it seems like he will be the head of football operations in Atlanta. All right, time to have a little fun looking at the wagering side of games tonight. College basketball, only 2 games of ranked teams. Okay, we'll talk about Indiana, the basketball school. A movie was made because the state of Indiana is so basketball crazy. And now they've become a football school. Nebraska in basketball. Nebraska looked at, well, not lately, but for a long time, a great football school. Nebraska Hoops is number 10 in the country. They're undefeated, 14-0, 3-0 in the Big Ten. Good defensive team. Offensively, they could be better. Undefeated Nebraska going on the road to take on Ohio State. Ohio State is a 2.5-point favorite. At home, Ohio State's 10-3 on the year. It's a test for Nebraska, no doubt. Ohio State, good offensive team, struggles on D. I will take Nebraska to cover. Matter of fact, to continue to be undefeated by beating Ohio State in Columbus. Other game with a ranked team tonight, Southern Cal will go to East Lansing and take on number 12 Michigan State. Again, Michigan State, a team offensively, but good defensive squad. Southern Cal, 12-2 under Eric Musselman, but only 1-2 in the Big Ten. Look, Tom Izzo's crew isn't what they aren't what they used to be. Southern Cal, though, nothing special in offense or defense. I think Michigan State suffocates them in East Lansing. Southern Cal is getting 10.5. I do think they'll cover the number, though, but Michigan State wins the game. Remember, whatever I say, go with the opposite, win billions. NBA tonight, real quick. The Denver Nuggets rolling into Philadelphia to take on the 76ers. Philly, 14.5-point favorite. Nuggets are injured, beat up, battered. I think Sixers win, but the Nuggets cover the number. Knicks and the Pistons tonight. This will be fun. Knicks are 23-12. Pistons are 26-9. Pistons are 12-3 at home. Knicks are only 7-8 away. New York is a favorite by 1.5. I'm going to take Detroit to cover that number at home. Good home team. Knicks are on the road. Nothing special. The Rockets and the Suns, the Phoenix Suns, are 21-14. Rockets are 21-11. Rockets 8.5-point favorites at home. Suns are 500 on the road, while the Rockets are really good at home. It's an 8.5-point spread. I think Houston wins and covers the number. Here's a big number. I got to get to this. Oklahoma City Thunder, 17-1 at home, 15.5-point favorites over a pathetic Hornets team, 5-13 away, and 12-23 overall. I think the Thunder covers the 15.5. Just saying. Just saying. All right, and there's a little Jay versus the Internet with Terry Ford impersonating Jay versus the Internet. Deion Barnes was introduced to the media on Friday, the new edge outside linebacker coach. Stan Drayton's a new running back coach, also from Penn State, as is Deion Barnes. Here is what Deion Barnes said about Coach Stan Drayton's influence on him.
Recommendations and just talking with him. He knew Coach Beamer, new type of program South Carolina was, so just asking the questions, and he was able to answer them, and I mean, it helped a lot as far as just familiarity and comfortability.
So Drayton kind of helped a little bit because, again, you got this opening that happened because Sterling Lucas takes off on you. So you're like, okay, we got to get ourselves a edge/linebacker coach. You know, Deion Barnes has done some nice work at Penn State the last 3 years as defensive line coach. You know, Barnes knows Drayton. Barnes is available. Maybe Drayton went to Shane and said, hey, Shane, you might want to talk to old Coach Deion Barnes. Maybe Barnes hit Drayton and said, hey, they got an opening? Huh, how about that? Whatever the case was, Deion Barnes shows up at South Carolina. And Barnes hasn't been coaching for a long time. Look, he went to Penn State, went there after his NFL career was over as a GA, moved himself into the defensive line coach spot. Barnes talks about earning respect from the players when you're a young coach. Interesting answer here. Cut 17 here.
I mean, you got to have respect. They got to respect what you're doing and gain respect because the stuff that I do teach, it works. But also, I explain the why behind it. I'm not just going to tell them to run through a wall, and I don't explain why they run through the wall. So the explanation why behind it is a big part of it.
Why's always good, right? You know, you always want to know why. Remember you're a kid? And you'd be told to do something. You're like, why, Dad? Because I'm your father. That's why. Now go do it. Or break me off a switch. And you always want to know why. Nobody would tell you. You're like, I just want to know why. So I like that idea with Deion Barnes. I'm going to coach you up and tell you what you need to do to be successful, and I'm going to tell you why it's going to work. So Deion Barnes, the new edge/outside linebacker coach of South Carolina. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Jay will not be here tomorrow. Again, Jay going through his final round of chemotherapy. Please keep our friend Jay Phillips in your thoughts as he moves forward with what he's dealing with. And we will talk to you tomorrow at 3. right, our final look on the traffic for this afternoon. In West Columbia, there's an accident, Enterprise Parkway at Old Barnwell Road, Columbia Faro Road near Hardscrabble, Two Notch at Dalton Road. And then we have our long-term construction, like usual, I-26 between Hugie and, I-126 between Hugie and I-26. I-20 between I-26, exit 64 and 65. I-26 between Bush River Road and Old Sandy Run Road as well. Come next, it's the best of the game. Tomorrow, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip. The men will take on LSU in Baton Rouge on 107.5 The Game here in Columbia and 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. The women Thursday on our sister station, B106. They'll be taking on Arkansas at 7. Thursday here on 107.5 The Game and also 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. We will have Carolina Calls with men's head basketball coach Lamont Paris.